Metamorphosis, word, sound and power, music, drumming, current affairs, everything to grow and lift up your mind. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, creating beauty and stimulating change from a constant supply of relevant knowledge and information.
No more youths and youths for sale. We get wise and don't decide to change their style. Bobby wrong, keep your empty promises and your crooked smile. Metamorphosis, come with your thoughts. Change your way of thinking. Metamorphosis, the change begins with you.
When I started, Black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth our hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt.
I, son of the Most High, Jah Rastafari.
Keep listening.
To the whole of man
Babylon. Chant down of Babylon. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise. Give thanks and praise to the whole man of creation.
Nastilin. Hail, hail, greetings, greetings. Rastafari. Hail, hail to all the listeners to Styles FM. Those who are now tuned in to the show where we have reasoning at the foundation. This is the Metamorphosis. I am your host. I'm Dr. Iman, Blak. Original, natural. Maintaining the progression in thinking, in imagining, in liberating. It's about the elevation of the I. It's about making contact with that almighty force, the higher self, the higher man, the internal center of consciousness. The metamorphosis, examining, healing the people in the parish, people in the immediate community, Port Antonio, people in St. Anne's and St. Mary and St. Thomas, Manchester, and the rest of the island. We're linking up to the people in cyberspace across various continents, regions, and places, and of course, hail to Splash and the people in New Jersey. Metamorphosis, continue to explore the ways of transforming this liberty, this style of life that we have come to know on this global plantation. So I speak not just to the ones on the local plan, but to the ones who are in the global. And we speak about the same issues. Issues about oppression, lack of employment, lack of whole heap of lack. And once we recognize black, we see that there is no lack. So we have to examine, therefore, the environment and the institutions that surround, that maintain this lack, this poverty of pocket and mind and spirit. So in the transformation, information is crucial. And how it is packaged is even more important. So metamorphosis presenting perspectives, not preaching, not converting, but encouraging free thinking. Because I would like to maintain that the greater the thinking power, the greater the individual, and the more the individual therefore will have to contribute to himself, his community, and to the nation at large. So we'll work towards the upliftment through knowledge. Now the things, of course, happening through the globe, and in recognizing things that are important versus things that are trivial, is an exercise by itself. But when we look at the thing globally, we have to speak about the threat of nuclear war again, that is on the Korean Peninsula. It's very real. Forces are being moved and nuclear war talk is hot. This is not like the Iraq issue when the struggle was over oil and just about power and economics. This is a different level. And so we're going to have to pay a little bit of attention to what's going on over there. I also want to look at the parliamentary structure here. And, you know, I was traveling uptown to the city in a taxi and about to go up Duke Street, and the taxi man had to turn off because there was a procession. Parliament was in the house, and the Virgin said, see them there? They might defend the man who put law upon them. So I don't bother say nothing, I just go and listen. Say, and then people there are going to raise up taxes, you know, and make everything hard, you know. And so people there support them. You don't say nothing either. Him say, we want a guy Hawks. Some say, what did I say? Him say, we want a guy Hawks. Him say, no, Guy Hawks. Of course, I don't know. Him say, Guy Hawks is the man who bomb up the parliament in England. And they have a deal name in his honor. The But the guy, him really named Guy Fawkes, you know. But what really was touching was that part of the society reach a level where them have no faith, no or confidence, those people who are parading as leaders. And they think that revolution and change is important. So what they must suggest is that what the Englishman did when he was having problems was to deal with it in a very direct way. That now they honor him. Guy Fawkes is being honored now. There's a Guy Fawkes Day. So it's just part of the pressure that is reaching the people here. I am now really considering now whether there is a new format called IMF state. And is this a new order that we're going under now where the IMF actually control now certain states? Of course, the states put themselves in that position. And we are very good at that because Jamaica is now, you know, the leaders are wasting. We are paying the price. So when I look at the impact that an IMF state really means and what it means for I and the plantation. Now, 4 days ago, 3 days ago, April 4th, to be exact, in the United States, Martin Luther King was assassinated. April 4th, which means yesterday, 1968. And in that assassination, I tell you the truth, I landed in the States 2 days after. So this was a youth now coming from this rocksteady atmosphere and being dropped into an environment where it was really like war. So early, I understand the struggle of the race, I understand the struggle of class, but on this plantation in Jamaica, I want to speak during this metamorphosis now to the force that Dr. Welsing spoke to. The force of racism. It tends to be ignored in Jamaica. It tends to be tried to put under the carpet, and we try to speak about class. But I want to talk about racism as a force that is leading towards what one of my sisters called what we're going to call internalized racism. And could that really be the force that is keeping us enslaved? We have internalized racism. And maybe this is maybe the foundation of something like even bleaching. Not so much of lacking in self-esteem, but the thing called racism needs to be explored in Jamaica. In North America, it's researched, it's studied, it's linked to ill health of black people. It is linked to heart disease, linked to all sorts of ailments created by this thing called racism. But in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, we tend not to focus on it because we claim that it don't really exist. We really only have a class issue here. Well, I want to suggest to the item now that we have to open our eyes. I want to look carefully not only at the police and the government and the church and the university, but we must begin now to also explore this thing called racism, which is a ideological foundation thinking that has been in this country from the 14th century. And it still works in this country. And we need to examine that if we're going to liberate ourselves and move on towards really sovereignty. And the other thing we want to look at now before we get into the real essence is the concept of a clash. In Jamaica, we thrive on clashes, musical clashes, word clash, sound clash. But you see the Bible that we read, I am thinking that this Bible here now really is the mother of our clashes. Because when you really examine the Bible, you know, King James, it is founded upon clashes. David and Goliath, Samson and Delilah, Cain and Abel, Jesus and Satan. All of these are clashes. So maybe part of our way of life, why we thrive so much on clash, is because maybe it is embedded into the culture of the religion that we embrace. It's all about clash. So when we look into the clash, And the big clash that we have to look at first of all in Genesis is the clash between God the Creator and Lord God. Two entities. Who play the bigger sound? Metamorphosis. Looking into, of course, ways to free the self from false impressions and delusions. And this thing called racism, it is highly discussed in America. It is a practice by the dominant culture there. And it is used to separate African people, to the extent that we're not only separated from the dominant group, we internalize racism and use it now to separate ourselves from our own selves. Yeah, one day I'm thinking about that seriously now, you know. Because racism is a reality. White racism, racism which is based upon a set of beliefs that one race is superior genetically to the other. No, this racist ideology is promoted by white Europeans, Caucasian Europeans. And in this promotion of this ideology, it puts the people of melanin in a position where they are treated as inferiors. So the socialization process strengthens this ideology that the very people themselves who are experiencing white racism will turn around and and exhibit racism against their own selves. So it's called internalized racism. And here in Jamaica, we must begin to examine this phenomenon. Because we're stuck on this thing about people bleaching because they're losing their self-esteem. And people straightening their hair because of self-esteem. But it goes a little bit beyond self-esteem. And we have to begin to look carefully now at this thing called racism. Where the hatred that the race exhibits is something that has been internalized based upon the oppression by the racist himself. It's a very serious cycle of psychology that keeps black people thinking inferior. But what strengthens it is the teachings and the philosophy and the divide and rule notion. Because within the divide and rule, we find that a clash is a medium to separate. Yeah, a clash. Once you have a clash, we'll come to see which one is better. And we tend to praise the one who wins the clash, and we tend to boo the one who loses the clash. So we have this clash concept. And in that concept, it's very difficult to pull people together. But it is grounded in our philosophy. It is grounded in the Bible as a text. And one of the first clash, beyond the David and Goliath and beyond Samson and beyond these other struggles, is a clash that took place in heaven. Because we hear that before man was created and before the heaven and the earth, there was a clash. A mighty clash. A clash between God and his angels and Lucifer and his angels, because there are no women there. So the concept of a clash is there in the kingdom of God. So I wonder who win that clash. Who you think played the better music?
Let him be praised, not
Yeah, Metamorphosis, Dr. Iman Blak, looking into this thing that is in the environment, this thing that permeates the atmosphere. We can't see it, but we feel the effects of it as black people, this thing called racism. The people in North America face it straight up. The people in England face it at a very subtle angle. Oftentimes when Jamaican people return from those foreign lands, they have a stigma attached to those who go into England. Because when they return here, they say they behave different. And the difference is partly due to the type of racism that they face in those places. In North America, it's very right in the face. I don't like you, you don't like me, and we operate because we are civil. And they call it being civil. And the business can be conducted. In the UK, apparently, there's a lot of language and, deferment, and people spoken with different levels of English and classisms, and people become more confused there about their blackness and their identity. In Jamaica now, it is even more confusing because the population here is majority black. So you barely see the white presence, but the ideology of that presence is dominant. So in other words, a small group has a dominant effect in terms of ideology because racism is still here. It never moved from the day the British and the Spanish came. It has become more subtle to the level where I'm saying the vast population seem to have internalized this thing called racism. And in internalizing the racism now, we have become self-destructive. So we need a clarity in our consciousness as to what really is racism. What are these set of beliefs that we have internalized that are now working against our own selves? What are these norms and values that I and I have internalized? That internalizing these values now, we end up turning around and killing each other. And we end up turning around trying to look like the oppressor. So we have to think carefully and examine this Jamaica that we're living on and recognize the globe, that there is a force separate from the police, separate from the universities, separate from the schools, separate from the church, separate from institutions. It's sort of in the atmosphere. So we kind of breathe it. So how do we purge ourselves from this atmospheric vibration that is about self-destruction? How do we purge ourselves? Well, just listen to the Metamorphosis. When the I word sound and power. Clash in the heavens.
generation, much too long. We've been down in humiliation, oh so long, yeah. We've been down in a condemnation, much too long. We've been down in a segregation, oh so long. So rise and shine.
Yeah. Metamorphosis, looking into the transformation now and this identity issue within the whole plantation now that includes this force called racism. How does it affect our own perception of ourselves? Our racism is teaching one set of ideas. Does it consolidate the I, or does it help to disintegrate the I? So we take it from the top. We take it from the story that tells us about the mythical creation, the one that has been forced upon us. Story about the clash in the heavens, that God the Creator created first the angels, and the angels were made out of the will and desire of the Creator. This is the story we get. And in creating these angels, we get the impression that these angels are all masculine in gender. Talking about identity. So the impression we get of this kingdom of heaven, where the Almighty dwells, this is before now the 7-day creation. So man, I am not involved in this, you know. Right? We aren't even conceptualized yet by the Almighty. This is Almighty alone in his kingdom. And in this kingdom are his creations. No earth, no heavens, just angels. So it's man. It's a kingdom of males. Because the Creator gave you the concept of a man. He. This is the teachings. So it's a kingdom of all spirits, divinities. They're all masculine. And we hear that one is bright as a morning star. And this angel actually is the most beautiful of the men in that kingdom. And this angel is called Lucifer or Lucy. And it means the bright morning star in one translation. And everybody is happy. Everything is hunky-dory. And the kingdom of heaven is swinging along. Now something goes different. Because we hear now that Lucifer, the bright morning star, second in command, now has political ambitions. What do you mean by political ambitions? I'm saying this is a kingdom. And there's only one king. But there is ambition. There is desire. And so Lucifer is ambitious, given this ambition by the Creator, and desires to be head of the house. Now, here we have a conflict. This is before man is created, you know. So I am not responsible now for the source of conflict. I am not responsible for the source of anything that is evil. Because we're seeing now, we're hearing that these things are taking place already. So in the clash, it's a matter of God and his angels versus Lucifer and his angels. And we hear true stories. Because you remember now, you know, there's no living man there now, you know. There's no living man documenting what I'm speaking about. No living man. There's no planet. Because the story tells us that this is before the creation of heaven and earth. So here we have a battle going on. War taking place in the kingdom of heaven before I, innocent black man, even emerge. And in this war, certainly people get injured. So angels are injured. Angels are thrown out. We don't know whether it was a nuclear war or not, because certainly these angels have powers. I don't visualize a fist fight. No. So we could have a nuclear war in heaven. And in the long and short of the story is that God conquers Lucifer. And Lucifer is thrown out of heaven. And in that throwing out of heaven, Lucifer lands where? Right, they say, on earth. Strange story. So, on earth now, we have this angel created by God called Lucifer. And this angel has knowledge. This angel has power. And at no point in time in the story we hear anything about evil nor good. We hear about power. Struggle for power. Powerful versus the powerless. So where did the notion of good versus evil come from? Identity issues. Metamorphosis. Bonawela chanting, the liberation now that I am addressing is the psychic liberation from the cosmic confusion that has been put upon I and I, based upon these stories that no man has ever visualized except in his imagination. It's not a reality, it's a construction. But we are caught up into it. It affects I and I thinking process. So just try to bring this story to a sort of conclusion, like. So we hear that after the war and after the battle, great scarring, that God the Creator wins and Lucifer loses. And he is put to earth as a punishment. So if we want to look at earth now, we find that on earth now, at least there's just one angel of God, along with his soldiers. All the man them say who lose to them, all them soldiers them get kicked out. So all them come to earth. So we have Lucifer and his army on earth. Before man and the creation manifested. So we have a confusion here. There's a confusion in the story. But we now watch the confusion. We're looking at how we really internalize it and then how it affects the sense of self. So the battle goes on now. And we are socialized now to believe. And this is where it's critical now, Because all along the road, we don't hear about good or evil. And then somewhere in the narrative, it slips in that Lucifer represents evil. I don't know how it's slipping. Maybe somebody could text me 4531444 or give me a link and tell me how did that happen? Where in the story the rebellion by Lucifer was defined as evil. A rebellion. And we can look at it a different way now. Let us say the battle is not about good and evil, but about male and female. Let us put a gender issue now to God and Lucifer. And we can use our own imagination and realize that this confrontation, this clash, even before good and evil exist, there are principles in nature that are governed by male and female. So perhaps it is a symbolic clash of a man and a woman. Yeah, the male and the female. God and Lucifer. The typical clash that we experience every day, where there is a rise up in power and somebody wants to overtake the household and the man has to stand up, otherwise somebody has to go. So we are in a position where we can interpret that clash, not as a clash between good and evil, but as a clash between male and female. That clash that we have to endure even today. So the symbolic meaning of the struggle in heaven could really be a struggle between the gender. Yeah, we can look at it a different way. So the battle between good and evil now, which we and I recognize there is no end. But we can bring a solution to the battle between the gender. Yeah, I and I can develop reasoning between the gender to bring these black people into a greater sense of unity. So it's how we perceive these stories that help to define ourselves even this present dispensation. So we are trapped into believing now that the female is the source of evil. Because coming through the biblical story, they don't tell us that it is the serpent that is the source of evil. They say the woman becomes the source. At the same time, the woman was sort of infected by the serpent. We have to reread, we have to re-examine, we have to look at identity issues. We have to see whether this God in the creation really was or have to be a male entity. We have to explore the clash between male and female. We have to re-examine the clash between good and evil. And which of these clashes really is the dominant in the culture, and which clash we really need to resolve. I am saying male and female. That's what we need to work at. Yes, appreciating the text coming in from the reader and also from Rosie in New York. Rosie said that racism will always be here and boy, it's hard to get rid of. But yeah, we know that. That's why we're working at it. Yeah, give thanks, give thanks. And Taria? Okay, yeah, man, just keep it flowing. Yeah, you see, one more look at the kingdom of heaven. You see, when we look at the imagery now in the kingdom of heaven, with all those angels who clashed, from as a youth, I could never see none black there. I don't even see no Chinese. Everything did always just white. Everything did white. Fluffy white. Yeah. Puffy, you know. And the characters remained white. So the racism, the ideology of white supremacy is there. It is there. Even though you don't think it is there, you know. It is at the foundation of our meditation. Because it has been introduced to us through learning, unconsciously, consciously, images, socialization, religion, all the various institutions impose that imagery. So we'll get accustomed to seeing white as pure. You know, say, them have a thing called, this I jumping myself a little bit in, but you know, say, this thing called immaculate conception. A couple days ago, I look on the word immaculate clearly, you know. And it's all about being spotless and pure and white. Yes, so I'm going to talk about a white conception then. Where people holding on to, because that represents the whole Jesus story, you know. The immaculate conception, because Mary never get touched, all kind of things. But the impression is that white is purity. White is the truth. And people also have been tricked to think that white, that light is white. If many people believe that light is white. And when we symbolize the truth, we always talk about the light. So the implication is that it's really white is the truth, you know. What is white is the truth. And you must always follow the light. And you go to the schools and ask the youth them talk about white light. And there's no such thing as white light. Light is natural. So it's a part of the indoctrination that have us thinking that all things that are not black are superior. It's really that, you know, that you begin to see yourself now. When you internalize those beliefs, you know, you begin to hate yourself with a passion. Yeah, man. Even, I mean, you get vicious with yourself. That you attack your own skin. Yeah, you attack your skin. So what we're saying now, the cosmology that they give us sustains this racism. What is interesting also is that after the man, these angels battle with one another and create death and hate, mayhem. When God win and kick them out, them say when Lucifer landed on earth, he suddenly became evil and black. Yeah, all of a sudden now, this white angel, who was a bright morning star, the most beautiful angel, drop out of favor and turn the black sheep. Maybe this is where the concept of the black sheep come from. Yeah, this kind of one who get kicked out. So, the imagery now of good and evil begins to be imprinted in I and I mind. And because none of us really want to be evil, in the truth, I think, we want to gravitate towards the good. So guess what happened now? You see, if white represents good, then most people will begin to gravitate towards this thing called white. So the so-called brown people now think them closer to white, feeling themselves better. And those who are black feeling worse. So hear me now, it's a whole heap of things we have to unlearn. Because it is through the unlearning that will make space now for new knowledge. Metamorphosis. Yeah, Metamorphosis here, stirring up the people them to make them feel better about themselves. That fact that they can think. It's a thinking. It's a fantastic power. You see, when you don't use it, you really come in like a daft. So Sister Bev, Sister Joy, yeah, does that happen with the black and brown thing? We don't really want to face up with it that way, you know. But we're going to think it out, you know. Yeah, we're going to think it out and come up with a practical way to deal with it. See, another look at that Kingdom of Heaven now, you know, as Sister just spoke through the telephone. I don't see any women in the Kingdom of Heaven. It always perplexed me from a day I begin to really think about gender. There's always Michael and Gabriel and some men. Always men. So I want to know, where is the divinity now in woman? So this construction that we get now of the Kingdom of Heaven is a womanless place. So how do reproduction go on? Or it just stagnant, population just stationary, pure man. Hey boy, what a place. What a place. So there's no birth and there's no death and there's no relations. Well, I can't say there's no relations because man will have relations with themselves. There's a foundation to a behavior, you know. And it begins in the cosmic consciousness. Or you see it in your cosmics. Not just spirit now, you know. Spirit is just one level of perception. We're talking about the cosmic consciousness now. So at that level now, African man, African woman, we just get disconnected from the teachings. The African woman has no presence in that kingdom of God. So when does she appear? When does she appear? And I'm saying no. We'll follow the story carefully now, you know, and trace this gender issue from the kingdom of heaven right into the Garden of Eden. We see the female now is a sort of appendage, because there are no females in the kingdom of heaven. And then when God gets vexed, him send his male angels out into the earth. So Satan and his army are males. And all of a sudden now, the Lord God story begins. And Lord God now makes this being and then decide to make a companion out of the being for the being. And then this is what is going to be the source of the African woman. All African women should just rise up in rebellion. No! Because that is a disrespect to the sovereignty of black woman. Because the black man himself comes out of the black woman. So we can't say, oh, we can there and she not there. We can't say, oh, both of us can be absent at the same time. Something is amiss. So what we'll do, we have to re-examine that story. Because remember now, you know, every story have a writer, you know. And me and you know so that there is nobody there writing that story. Nobody. Because we say not even man make it. Yeah? We're talking about an event that took place in the kingdom of heaven. So you see that journalist? That man who was a fly on the wall in the kingdom of heaven, who could document all those conversations between God and his angels, we have to think about this carefully. These are the constructions out of the minds of men. And these men don't necessarily have the interest of black people. So the stories we get and the racism that is attached to these stories will keep us thinking inferior. So Metamorphosis is suggesting that we re-examine those stories. And we begin to think in the practical. Think about gender. Think about kingdoms without women in it. And is that where we really come from? Metamorphosis.
Who were the founders of science?
Metamorphosis, moving into Africa in world affairs, our story. And of course, our story now is grounded in practicality. This is not about mystical imaginings. This is reality based upon time, space. Mythologies go beyond time and space. And creation stories go beyond time and space. And it is really the imagination and the intuition of man that generates these stories. But in this story, our story, it's about the African continent. It's about the black people's continent. It's about the resources. It's about what is earthly. It's about the kingdom of the earth. It's about the reality of time. It's about where the generations really emanate from and where the generations will return. So this kingdom called Africa is not one of like the kingdom of heaven that is to come. The kingdom of Africa is here. It is for us to claim it, for the African people to claim it. But the teachings, also grounded in racist ideology, have most people of African calling themselves non-Africans, calling themselves all different type of identities except being African. Because when you lack the proper knowledge of Africa, then you don't really want to associate yourself with anything that you don't think is progressive. And so if the images of Africa are negative and you follow those images, certainly you will be on the side where you claim that Africa is a land of barbarians, etc., etc. So proper knowledge is important. And for us here in the West, that knowledge could begin with knowing the pyramid culture. With knowing ourselves as the builders of the pyramid, knowing ourselves as the creators of the pyramid culture. And the culture of the pyramids is all about the mathematics and the science and the astronomy of the earth. It is a foundation that set up Greek society. And the Greeks are the people who the Western world pay tribute to as the great source of knowledge. So if Europeans' great source of knowledge is Greece, and the Greece society had to sit at the feet of the Africans to learn, then who are really the masters of knowledge? So we have to understand ourselves, not as a superior people, but as people who have superior knowledge to the state that we are presently in. Our knowledge is superior. We have been forced to use that knowledge to create entertainment value. But that knowledge is what created the science. It created the philosophy. It created the medicine. It created the mathematics. And we need to recover and uncover those talents. So, first thing, in terms of Africa, we have to celebrate the presidency in Kenya. There's a new president in Kenya. And what is interesting about this president, that he is the son of a former president. He's the son of the burning spear, Jomo Kenyatta. Or if it's not his son directly, it is his very, very close and immediate offspring. So with the hopes that now Kenyatta will return with a kind of spirit, a spirit of resistance that seems to be dying as this globalization force overtakes the continent. We also have to speak about the president of Gambia, who has told the Western world that there is no space in his society for same-sex philosophy. And his people will rather eat grass than to bow to Western pressures and accept financial aid. So we're seeing some points of resistance raising up as the forces of Europe, America, and the papacy moving in Africa. Africa is still the center of the world's greatest amount of resources, not only in what is in the land, under the ground, but in terms of the people. Yeah, we are the most powerful people on the earth. It's just that it's like the elephant. Elephants are mighty animal. But when they want to tie him up, they put a very small piece of rope around his foot and attach it to something, just any ordinary object. And the elephant don't move. Because from the elephant was a baby, them tie him up with that same small rope, and him couldn't move. So even though him grow big, in the elephant mind, him still can't move. So what we have to do is shake up the mindset. Yeah, it's a revolution in thinking. And Africa is the center.
Economic liberation is a duty I owe to posterity. Great Zimbabwe stands, ancient rock solid firm. Come now, Draco go down. Great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls. When they saw Zimbabwe walls, they said it was the foundation. They said it was the Syrian. They said it was the Chinese. When they saw Zimbabwe wall, they said it came from the Iberian. We know it is 100% African. Yaga yo, naga naga na Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls. So who your Vasco de Gama be? So who Prince Henry the Navigator be? So who was your Sir Walter Raleigh? So who was Amerigo Vespucci? Some kind of Johnny come lately, talking about them make some kind of discovery. Iman is the living anthropology. Iman is the living archaeology. Yaga yaga yo, Zimbabwe wall, great Zimbabwe wall, Zimbabwe wall, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls. When they built up the Aswan Dam, it was the Western archaeologists' plan to flood with historical Sudanese land. Afraid of the glory of the Nubian, afraid you will see your connection. Yaga yo, yaga yaga yo, to Zimbabwe. Great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls. So who your Vasco de Gama be? So who Prince Henry your Navigator be? So who was your Sir Walter Raleigh? So who your Christopher Columbus? Iman is the living archaeology. Them talking about them make some kind of discovery. Iman is the living anthropology. Zimbabwe come now stand firm. Yeah, Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls, great Zimbabwe walls. Corresponding mathematical elliptical constants in Egypt, Axum, Zimbabwe and Mexico. Hey, African botanical strains of cotton and corn in America and yeah. We can trace our steps through botany and etymology. You can't hide the truth forever from me. Can't hide the truth forever from me. Yeah, where me mesu, what is revealed is only right and true. We are standing on the soil that made you. Standing on the soil that made you. Standing on the soil that made you. Yeah, are you standing?
Yes, the great walls of Zimbabwe. Fantastic piece of architecture, construction, mathematical, applied. So when we talk about the greatness of the continent, we in the Western world kind of get locked into this Egypt thing. Yeah, we don't seem to recognize the vastness of the African continent, the north, the south, the east, the west, and the central, and even the horn of Africa. It's a massive continent, you know. Very difficult to hold into the imagination, because it's in imagination now that we have to expand to make space for Africa. A lot of people have the map of the United States in their imaginations very clearly. They can show you the 50 states and tell you exactly where they are in their imagination. But they cannot hold the African continent. They don't know where Burundi is. They don't know where Zimbabwe is. They don't know where Angola is. There's Africa from A to Z. Yeah, almost all the countries you can find between letters A to Z around the continent. So we have to begin to show more understanding of this vast, vast place. And realize also that the textbooks don't encourage us to look beyond the biblical version of Africa. Because the Bible now gives us a view of Africa. And a lot of persons see Africa through the lens of the Bible. Being that as the book that was given to the slaves to sort of learn to practice English. So anything in there that said Africa, we grabbed onto it. And so when we read the story about the Garden of Eden, we became fascinated when we saw the word Ethiopia. And it gave us a sense of belonging, that yes, well, we really do belong to this story, because here it is telling us now that these rivers that came out of the Garden of Eden, one of them surrounded Ethiopia. And so we begin to locate Ethiopia now, anywhere near Ethiopia, locate the Garden of Eden, anywhere near Ethiopia. So the book has pulled us into it, the Genesis, with the things of Africa, because we know of our African identity, we know of our African story. But in that pulling in, we are also brought into Africa through the lens of Moses and his experience. So we begin to learn about Africa from the point of view of the Hebrews. And the Hebrews' story is all about Abraham. So what they have done is disconnected Black history and the history of the African people before Abraham. So the tens and tens and thousands of years of African history before Abraham is suddenly wiped away. And we must begin to believe that our story now begins with Abraham. And Abraham's story takes us into Moses. And Moses takes I and I out of Africa, following this Lord God called Jehovah. And so the Black people now, African people from the West, from the South, from the North, African people who have no connection to Egypt in any direct way, must now line up behind Christianity and follow Moses psychologically and spiritually out of Africa. So the racist ideology takes us out of Africa, being led by Moses. And in this leadership now, the Black people are given a new identity. We're no longer Fulani. We're no longer Ibu. We're no longer the Sand people. We have all now become Hebrews. And he asks all the Black people who read the Bible, they fight to identify themselves as Hebrews. What is the African history? The African story from the ancient pyramids. The Hebrews at that time were a lost tribe of people wandering in the Sinai desert. The real people are the African people, the Black people. So we have to hold on to the Pharaoh. We have to hold on to Akhenaten. We have to release ourselves from Moshe and Aaron, the Red Sea fallacy, Metamorphosis. So we're looking at African world affairs and how African people have been disconnected from their own story, primarily through literature that has been forced into our meditation, and literature that is driving that wedge between ourselves and our own reality is the Bible, King James Version. And the African people have been given two basic books to divide and to control. One is the King James Version of the Bible, and the other is the Quran. And these two books have separated millions of black people into almost two camps. Hundreds of millions of black people have been captured into two camps. One camp is being led by the Bible, one camp is being directed by the Quran. And so even that reality is facing the continent, where a lot of the conflicts are founded into these, what you call, religious struggles. So the struggle is really over the resources. But the front guys, the guys is all about religion. The religion really is not really about love and peace. It's all about war and conquest. And that's why religions are imposed on people who don't accept them. If you don't accept it, then beat it till they accept it. So it cannot be all that wonderful. You have to force it on people. So within the African struggle, within the black struggle, within understanding Africa in the world affairs, there is need to cite up, even today, an attempt to recolonize the continent. Recolonization is a process that European nations and the Chinese have now got themselves involved in. It's how do you reclaim the resources? How do you turn back that political independence movement that started in the 60s? How do the Europeans and the Americans get back their hands on the mineral resources that are under the ground in the continent of Africa? So, we here in the West, the more we disconnect from Africa, the more Africa becomes isolated. The more we reconnect culturally and consciously, the more difficult the forces who are invading will think that it's easy to take over this place. We have to claim Africa. Literally, you know, we have to claim it. The same way the Chinaman claims China. The same way the Indians claim India. The black people must begin to claim Africa. So some of our vacations now, rather than go to North America, we should go to some of the African states. Yes, we should direct some of our resources now out of these capitals that are slave owners and send some of our money now to the continent. This is how it works practically. Because when you look in the airports in England and those places, all the plane flights heading for Kenya, all the plane flights heading for Nairobi, and the plane them full of white people. So why are they going there? What is it they are visiting? And why is it they're telling us that we must go to England when we want to visit? And we must go to America? We could get wise. We like follow white people. We could follow them. We could go forward into Africa. Metamorphosis. Size FM. Yeah, we're gonna drift out of this segment here, Africa and World Affairs, our story. A feature in the Metamorphosis, insisting that the African map must be imprinted in your mind. Recognize it is almost the shape of your brain. You must kind of lie down and close your eyes and see the map of Africa. Yeah, clearly. East, west, north, south, central, and the horn. Magnificent in size. Metamorphosis, deconstructing the mythologies and the fables and the rhymes and the idiosyncrasies that they put in our faces, calling it education. Education is the key, but we need to free up the padlock now. Something is not so kosher. But we're looking into this notion of racism in institutions and in the mythologies. And when we look into the creation story, we see not only racism, we see sexism. We see women now being created as helpmeet, servants. This is where the philosophy comes from now, that a woman is a servant and a woman must be seen and never be heard. It is out of that philosophy. But more specifically, the movement from heaven to earth and the creation now of man. Because we come into the story as human beings, as man, after the Creator God uses 6 days to manifest the creation. The Creator God manifests things through word sound by saying, let us, and let it be. Commands, utterances. So from the so-called first day of creation, and that's where it dawned on me to wonder who counted the days, to know that it was 7 days creation. Again, where was a journalist? Where was a writer to define that it was 7 days and not 4 or 300 million years? But besides the point, what we're hearing now is that this beginning generates a male and a female. And out of this male and female, we're going to have the creation of the earth. I want to say to the item now that the Genesis gives us 2 creation stories. Genesis 1 is a creation by God the Creator. That is God that said, let us make man. And so we have this plural concept of the Creator. Them, made in image and likeness of them. So there's this one distinct creation where man, male and female, is created, sent out with a command to multiply and replenish the earth. All the animals and the fish and the birds were created within those 6 days. There was no need to call these animals to name them. All these animals had names. So this second story now that we're going to hear about is something that we have to explore carefully. So we know that God created the heavens and the earth. It's in Genesis 1. It speaks about the first day. It speaks about the third day when the plants were created. That oxygen could have been on the planet. It talks about when the fish were put into the ocean. You know, when they dump them, I say, I wonder when the first pair of whale go into the ocean. The whale is the biggest animal on the earth, you know, whether in water or land. I wonder where the first pair of whale come from. Who really, who see them? Yeah, who saw that aquarium out there? Yeah. So we ask the questions now, you know, and because we're practical, we're looking at these stories as they impact our lives. So we're seeing 2 stories. We see where God created, say, let us make man, male and female created them, send them out to multiply and replenish the earth. Made all the plants, the trees, the animals, the fish, everything. And then them get tired and them rest. And we have that as creation. Now you see, when you continue to read, all of a sudden now, we hear about Lord God. And Lord God now is a being that will make this thing out of dirt and then go into that thing and take out something out of the rib and make a woman. I am saying to the why them now, it's because these 2 stories are obviously different. We must choose. We must intellectually and spiritually to choose which one of these creation stories is liberating. Which one is enslaving. Because you see, if you accept the one about the man coming out of the dirt and the woman out of the ribs, that is a generation now that has been cursed. Is that generation now is bearing that original sin. Yeah, the generation of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. But if you understand African story and realize that these people in this story are not African people. These people in the story don't represent the Chinese. These people do not even represent the Indian race. So the conclusion is that the Adam and Eve creation story is really the story of the European people. It is the genesis of the Caucasian people. It is white people's beginning. And we're not going to dispute it. We're giving it to them. Just that we're going to claim our own.
Garment dipped in blood. It a go red hot, down in Jurassic Park. Yeah, it a go red hot, down in Jurassic Park. Like Robin Hood in Sherwood Forest, seeking bread for poor. Jam up down in Jurassic Park. Yeah, it a go red hot, down in Jurassic Park. That do you hear? It a go red hot, down in Jurassic
Park. Yes, hope. Iman see the text. Imagine them call the great architecture in Zimbabwe ruins. I've been a face to this, Tati. Master art of construction. And the Europeans call it our ruins. The one of them call the pyramid ruins too. No, them call them tombs. So that means I don't know, not those dead people put in it. Insultive. Hail to all the people in Zimbabwe. Yeah, man, Rastafari.
Yeah, it a go redder, down in your massive. Money will scattered all over the land, and no one to pick it up. It a go redder, down in your massive. Yeah, it a go jam up, down in your massive. It a go redder, down your Asifa. When Jack come from Basra with his garment dipped in blood,
Yeah, tough rhythm. Metamorphosis. Iman Blak. Styles FM. 96.1. 96.7. www.stylesfm.com. Yeah, deconstruct don't really mean mash up, you know. I'm try to get that piece of information out. It sounds like you're going against construction, idea of construction. It's not that. It means re-examining and looking at the thing from a different perspective. Reposition the value that you put on these ideas. Online. Coming in, my brethren. Isis, Metamorphosis, give thanks.
They are rolling, you know?
Yeah, they are roll out the consciousness.
Deconstruction.
Yes, we deconstruct the things now with the man and give us as gospel, not knowing that the hunter can also be the hunted, and so the story can change.
All the time, because we born in the Western world. The gospel is according to the scriptures written by the scholars of the Western world.
So the claim that we have to hold those and don't ask any questions. But here up, you know, where they the word down for me, you know, this notion of immaculate. You know, and
pure and clean.
Right. So me start look into the conception now of the what is the immaculate conception?
What is immaculate conception?
What is pure and clean about that conception?
But you know, so the immaculate conception where them speak of is not the only so-called immaculate conception that exists.
So what is immaculate?
Because immaculate is supposed to be white and pure.
So I understand that the immaculate conception is what brings forth the Son of God.
Well, according to the Bible.
All right. So through the Bible tell we this.
To what them say.
Through them tell we this, and is that the people believe now. Would it suggest that the people also believe that the Son of God would be white?
But you know what? We have to forward up a little, because the conception that took place of God through Mary is one of infidelity and fornication.
Hold on, man. Mind what I say.
What I mean, mind what I say? The man no married his wife.
So you say...
And Joseph not there.
So
if you're going to take another man's wife and have a youth with her.
Hold on, man.
Regardless of who you is. Or if you're going to take another man's wife and go have a youth with her.
So you say...
So no wrong right there, so.
So you don't respect the power of God, that him can do anything he feel like?
God can do anything he feel like.
So if you want to get a man born...
He can contravene the very laws where he set there.
Well...
For people live by.
Well, maybe they do as I say, not as I say, is coming not just from the pastor.
Because so much for the immaculate conception. If this is pure and clean, why you never just take a virgin out of the way because you name God and just make she conceive?
That kind of way there.
Because you name God. Or just take her for your wife because you name God and make she conceive and bring forth the Son of God. Why have you got to take another man's wife?
Why, may I tell you, and the comment
I married in a film culture, because the problem is she got pregnant and not pregnant for her husband, you know.
No, man, them stone a woman to death, you know.
Yeah.
So, I thinking now about how we get locked into this notion of the Son of God as a savior. Is that the racism as an ideology make we see him not just as a Son of God, but as a white man.
And Savior of the whole world.
And
too.
the Savior of the entire world. No, I want to know.
Savior of the world, including non-Christians too.
So, we know on the plantation here now, when we say all the Chinese move and the Indians, they're not affected.
And the Muslims and all of them people.
Yeah, so them people, they're not affected,
who
Virgin?
outnumber Christianity by millions from the face of the earth.
So where think we have gone wrong?
But you know, because we stuck in the Western world, we are look at the world through the prisons of the Western world.
So what we suggest?
That's the reason, you know, we are look through the world through the prisons of the Western world. We are trying to deconstruct is the prison where them give you know.
All right.
The Western world prison where that we are trying to deconstruct. But if we go forward in all Egypt,
yeah,
we realize that this immaculate conception idea come from Egypt.
Out of Egypt itself.
And a predate Christianity between Isis and Osiris.
All right.
That's the notion that come from, you know, this idea. But then Isis and Osiris was man and wife anyway.
So, and I think they were legal in the eyes of the society. It wasn't a bond business.
Yeah, and there was no notion of taking somebody else's wife and having a child with her who becomes the child of God.
You know, maybe that's where the concept of bond come from, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
man,
and it's very consistent with European philosophy, you know, because even among Zeus and them things, Zeus would take man wife and have our children with them things.
Yeah.
So consistent in a European philosophy is this notion of taking another man wife and having you to there.
But it's not a matter of just a man wife, it's just taking people things. You know. Yeah, because we as Africans,
why God said, you know, that seed into I and I philosophy them way there, where this notion of immaculate, white, clean, for black people follow.
So here what happened also now. When I look into the sound of the word now, you know, the story gave me the impression is that it was Mary who was saved by Jesus, God himself, by the ghost, from the original sin.
Yes.
In other words, now, this immaculacy of Mary is not just about she not having sex, you know. It's that she has been spared the sin of Adam and Eve.
So where she come from?
Well,
where she come from that she spared that?
The Holy Ghost full her up.
Where she come from that was she created by God for that purpose?
Apparently.
Apparently. Outside of the creation of man in general then.
So it seems.
From that perspective, from the European perspective.
So you see why
inconsistencies in that thing where we are deconstructing. Was it that Mary was so holy?
Yes.
That even when Joseph married her, he never even aware of her holiness. That not even she did aware of her holiness.
Hey, so
she never knew, you know, she was surprised when she found herself pregnant. You know.
You think so? Which woman you know ever pregnant and unsurprised? You tell me that, Bridget. You tell me that. And you ask any woman that if that is possible.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave it because here what happened now. It is for the women to think it out too, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're promoting the notion of thinking.
Mm.
The other thing we want to look at quickly now is this notion of the vicar of Christ.
The vicar of Christ.
Yeah,
like you mean the Pope?
Well, the earthly representative. And do African people really accept that the Son of God really that God really have a representative on the earth that is chosen by political machinery?
Well, you know why I'm outside of the political machinery, you know.
I think I vote them vote me.
I mean the church machinery.
All right.
The church machinery that chooses the Pope now, the civil government, you know.
Right, so church politics
then. Who come represent and choose the Pope are independent of them country's government.
All right.
Because when them come to choose the Pope, are those bishops of the Roman Catholic Church itself. Choose its own leader.
All right.
So the people outside who revere the Pope now have nothing to say. Have nothing to do with the election.
So the
it's purely the conclave, them call the conclave.
Yeah, the conclave, the gathering of the bishops.
Gathering of the bishops who come together and them choose a Pope.
So maybe because they are divinely wise. What you say? They have some divine wisdom that black people generally don't have.
No.
Black
people have not saying no papacy.
Not except for follow. Because I'm of the view that it is a role of this new Pope to increase the fellowship.
Yeah, well,
and in that increase now
among all different people.
Different, not amongst the white people, them don't put it down already.
Yeah, well.
So the increase going come amongst the people of melanin. The dark population is what I think they want to increase, because they say if you go and capture the earth resources, you have to kind of people to begin to love poverty,
Yeah, well, listen, the Catholic Church is an economic institution and one of the richest organizations on the face of the earth.
But even within that context now, you don't think the church then could do more for Jamaica, the way we are being taxed? You don't think the church now have a responsibility to begin to pay a good amount of their money back in the taxes? What do you think?
They're not going to do that. Why would they do that?
To help the Lord, so I mean,
the only way the church can be asked to pay a good amount of money, according to how economics run, is that you'd have to go to the church as an economic institution.
No, but I mean,
economic institution.
So what about it? What about removing poverty? Isn't that part of the role of the church?
Removing what?
Poverty, to reduce poverty and them thing. Then
the church can only say that, man. Them can't only talk that.
So them can't contribute nothing. Them can't create no employment. Them can't do nothing for the people.
Them not have nothing to do with employment. The church only employs its bishops and its officers.
So why them collect all them money every Sunday?
The money?
Yeah, every Sunday them collect a bag of money, man.
They maintain them opulence, man. They maintain them churches. They maintain them bishops. They maintain them offices. They not distribute that money there to the church.
So the people don't need the church then?
People every year go to church, go get one wallet or one parcel of money yet. How much poor people in the church ever get a parcel of money yet? They never do that yet.
So what we really recommend now?
Services. They provide some little services, some little cosmetic thing, and then say them I help the poor, them have food for the poor, and then give you a mattress, and then give you, they might be a little board house for you, and them go and do a little cosmetic thing.
And them say give thanks for small mercies.
Yes, I give thanks because church gear this.
Yeah.
But the church now give an envelope with $1 million in there. Now if not $1,000 in there.
I think
give nobody the money.
I think so maybe
they give nobody land.
Yeah, but I think maybe now them to think about setting up industries now for the people to be employed to alleviate the poverty. Because the kingdom of, you understand? I think so them start think more practical. It's not just about spirit talk and Holy Ghost talk. I think the people want.
No, the church is not an economic institution. We, as much as we wish that they would have do that.
Yeah.
When them start do that, no, them are going to get. Remember, said some Catholic man start trying to do that in South America, and then call them liberation theology.
Right.
And so them move away from the real meaning of the church, which is provide spiritual guidance and help.
Yes, just help.
The poor. We never hear them say them are going to alleviate poverty yet.
Yeah.
They always say them are going to help the poor.
That sounds like the same statement with the governments make also. Them always say them will help the poor.
They never talk about alleviate.
Never, yeah.
Help.
So the church and the church and the government then really seem to be doing the same thing.
Yeah, well,
which is not really providing much for the people generally.
Yeah, the church powerless.
And the government seems to be powerless too.
The government ineptitude and.
So where the power really less resting in Jamaica?
The government impotent, man. Where that?
I think maybe we are IMF state now.
IMF.
Yes, I think all the power.
Hey, all that. Yeah, if you do a little program about the origin of the IMF, you know.
Yes.
And the purpose of the IMF, you know.
Seen. Definitely.
Because the IMF originated in Europe to solve Europe problems after the Second World War, you know.
Really?
And the only way they know to solve problem is by what them call austerity measures. And their programs have never been successful in any country where them go. So I don't know why we are hung up the IMF who we didn't run already.
Oh, that thing. That sounds like a real entire program.
We run them already and I go back home, you know.
Well, you know, them say maybe them say old fire stick.
Yeah, well.
Easy for catch.
Old fire stick.
Metamorphosis. Give thanks. What's Bora?
Rastafari. You call it a fire stick, you know.
Yeah.
So you know what the problem is. So
what you say? Man moving through. Give thanks for the link.
Yes, I.
What's Bora?
Yes, I.
Isis.
Rastafari.
Naked fools, you think you are cool to deny me for simplicity.
Styles FM, broadcasting from Portland, Jamaica.
I'm on the go, I'm on the go. I'm on the go, I'm on the go.
You've been standing like that beside the radio all day. Haven't you heard about Styles FM on the go?
With Styles FM on the go, you can listen to your favorite programs by calling the USA number 213-992-4360. If you're in the UK, it's 020-3670-1330. And the Germany number is 051-180-904-040.
It's that easy? Wow! Styles FM on the go? I like it!
Milton, me just catch camera watching one of the adult channel on the cable.
Why him there?
Me look off the TV and send him straight in bed.
That boy don't learn, you know.
You don't learn either.
Huh?
Me and you agree to put in the code on the cable box so camera can't access the adult channel them. You say you was going to put in the code. You do it?
Well,
No, Milton. We supposed to put in the code. It's we choose to put the cable in the house, and choice come with responsibility.
Broadcasting Commission. People transitioning digital.
Yeah, what's going on? War certainly is not the answer. It's really love and understanding that will conquer hate and to a certain extent poverty. World news from the Metamorphosis, looking at the impending crisis on the Korean Peninsula, where the North Koreans have moved their weapons in readiness to attack South Korea. Not only are they in readiness to attack South Korea, they are in readiness to send missiles as far as Hawaii and to the west coast of the United States. So there's a different kind of threat now versus when America took on Gaddafi or rather Saddam. This is a different part of the world now the Americans have gone. Right? We know them to be battling in the Middle East, what they call the Middle East, in the oil-rich territories, trying to secure their oil supplies. Now, the Obama administration has turned their attention to China. And China now is a rising giant on the international board, chessboard. And what appears to be happening is that America and China, in days long gone, it was America versus Russia. And they would fight their wars on other people's countries, other people's islands. For example, in Jamaica, 1980, we had a war. Soviet Union versus America, right here on the island. What seems to be happening now in the Korean Peninsula is that America now, which is represented by South Korea, and carrying all the ideologies of the United States, is being faced now by the North, who's carrying all the ideology of China. There's really America versus China being played out between the South and the Northern Koreans. So these two powers, they don't war directly. They war through other countries. And so the people of other countries feel the wrath, feel the bombings, feel the death, while the generals stay in Pentagon and direct missions and bombings and murders and so on. The difference again between the struggle now that's on the horizon is that the nuclear threat is real. It was a fabrication against Saddam. Weapons of mass destruction, that was just an illusion created by the Pentagon and the Bush administration. In Northern Korea, there are no illusions because these weapons there are real. And this youth who control the Korean is a youth who don't have any influence in terms of, he's not influenced by the United States, and apparently white supremacy has not touched him because he has no fear. He has no fear of white people generally. So the Koreans have their own racial identity. and it keeps them strong. Even though they're financially destitute, they have their pride, they have their self-respect, and they have their weapons. No, the Americans are insisting that nuclear technology is something that they should define who has control of that. It's the same way Americans are trying to tell the Iranians that they don't have any right to nuclear technology. It's the same way they're telling the North Koreans. So who really are the Americans now to define who has the right to have these powers? What makes them superior? And again, you go right forward to the supremacist white ideology, that white people are just superior by some divine right, and that the Chinese and the Indians and the blacks and all other racial groups are lesser. And so once you push that ideology, you're going to push war, because you're going to book up some people who will reject that idea. You know, book up people who have their self-respect. And so looking at that peninsula, the North Koreans have shut off themselves from the South. The South are running exercises with the United States. The United States has moved their defense system to Guam as a protection for missiles. The thing is not a joke. So even though we are far away in terms of the island, we're not far away because the world has gotten much closer through technology and so forth. So we're watching that one keenly.
This cultural diffusion, spreading fear and confusion, playing cloak and dagger wars, using what you're fighting for. Back, we need a double attack. Step back, here comes the shark attack. Back, we need a double attack. Step back, here comes the shark attack. What more do they want? They've got all they need.
Yeah, continuing with the news. Hotspot again. The place now is in Israel, where the Palestinians have been mourning the death of certain of their leaders as the Israel people insist that war is the answer. You know, Obama visited Israel and he had a speech to the next generation of Israelis and told them clearly that the only way forward for Israel is to recognize, or as he said, become cognizant of the reality that the Palestinians must have their own independent state. So the American president has made that statement to the future generation Israelis. Those who are in the present now obviously don't share that idea. The present administration insists that Palestinians actually should be pushed into the sea. And their groundation for that reasoning is coming out of this, again, the scripture. The same type of racist ideology, that they are a superior people. And what makes them superior? They are now God's chosen people. Now remember now, we go back again to the Bible story. And that the discrimination is promoted in the text. So we hear now that God creates people. And in the creation of this Adam and Eve by Lord God, because we are left to follow Lord God creation. And now they are special people. There are people who are God's chosen people. So there are some people who God have not chosen. And they shall suffer. And so the people who call themselves Israelis now hold on to this line and insist that they are God's divine people and they have a right to be where they are. So the war in Palestine is grounded in biblical interpretation. And as long as they continue to talk about this Lord God who is jealous, this Lord God who has no respect for other gods, we have to, as black people, must re-examine our commitment to this concept called Lord God. Very, very serious thing, because there is a creator, the concept of the creator, but apparently there's a difference between the creator and Lord God. What does the meaning of Lord mean? Where does that title come from to put it in front of the dignity of God? What is this thing called the Lord? We have to ask these questions because in the literature, we hear that God created the heaven and the earth. And in Genesis 2, we're introduced to Lord God. So the Israelis and the Palestinians, they are in a conflict that is bordering on nuclear technology. Because look at it now. The Israelis have nuclear weapons. Yeah, and they're backed by the Americans. But the Americans are rejecting the North Koreans having their nuclear weapons. So who defines? Is it white supremacy? Well, the North Koreans say no. They say battle to the end. Who says the Iranians have no right to nuclear technology? Who controls the nuclear club? Might seem to make right. Powerful versus the powerless. No good versus evil. It's the powerful versus the powerless.
Economics has got them in desperation. And poverty is causing dangerous political tension. Depression is down on the land. And inflation is holding down strong, strong, strong.
One man asking, were any of the angels in heaven black? Do any of the angels in heaven look like us?
Babylon trying to find a solution.
So the Chinese are challenging the Americans and the Europeans for supremacy. And where do the black people fit into it? Are we only fodder? Are we only pawns in this mighty chess game? So we need some representation. We need some self-representation. We need some people or some groups to begin to speak on behalf of I and I. Really. Because all groups are organizing. We see where the Chinese are posing the greatest threat now to Europe and America as economic power. They are also a military force. They are a force in space, technology. So they are here to stay. And they are now putting the pressure on the white man them. Because the white man them don't see the Chinese as white people. The white people see the Chinese as the yellow-skinned people. They recognize that the Chinese people are a melanin-based people. They are not Caucasians. And if you look at them culturally, they hardly ever cross cultures. You hardly see them marrying. You hardly see them having children. Chinese hold them meditation, hold themselves together. They don't mix and mingle too regularly. And so they develop their identities. And identities grounded around family and economic resources. We as black people, we can take some lessons from the Chinese. We too must begin to rally around our racial identity. And around our identity now we build our economics. So we are rallying around religious identities. And what these do is create conflict and create war amongst our own selves. We have internalized racism. We have to look at what's happening around us. Take a few pages from the other racial groups, how they prosper. What is it they do to maintain their self-dignity? What is it they shake off to build up their own economics? Yeah, Metamorphosis, moving into the local news.
whole lot of them in sheep loading, oh yes, are trying to mix the children sin. The mark of the beast is on their forehead, oh yes, and evil prints upon their face. Oh, it's a big disgrace, yes. How they are marching up the place. It's Babylon trap them. Yes, Babylon trap them. The old book tell you about them, oh yes, and this is what it says. They are the generation of vipers.
Yeah, coming to you locally now. On the Jamaican scenario, we have just had the opening of Parliament, where the two tribe groups come together well dressed and they come down the town and they go into the garden house and they go through a ritual. Well, I was in a business place. The thing was being broadcast on the television. And as I look up on the screen, I just happened to hear one of the women in the whole proceeding say something and just say, and God save the Queen. And suddenly dawned on me that, look, this plantation that we're on, as much as we speak about independence and economic this and economic that, at the highest level of our governance is the Queen. So what I heard was a thing called the throne speech. I never knew that Jamaica had a throne. Really, never knew we had a throne. And then this throne speech now is delivered by the Governor General. The Governor General is the governor of the island, and he's the general of the army. He's a Governor General. Governor General. And what he does is outline what the government plans to do. And in that outlining, he mentioned that certain sacrifices have to be made, and the same will talk, tighten the belt and investment talk, and he mentioned that certain bills will be passed through, that 10 bills will be passed through, bills that deals with taxes and making one unit to deal with crime, and with all of the bills put forward, nothing there to improve the life of the people. No bill that leads to the decriminalization, for example, of the Ola Sacrament, that would take pressure off the society. We have no bills that lead towards any greater industry. But a lot of bills have been passed. And we wonder now, how will the economics be adjusted? Because in Jamaica, the dollar now is 99 point something to 1. We are days away from being 100 to 1. And I think we are days away from an official signing now with the IMF. The IMF is this organization that controls the purse strings of Jamaica. And we are going to be put on our knees at the hands of this IMF. The problem is that unlike Obama, who has decided to return some of his salary, we don't have that here in Jamaica. We don't have no member of government turning it back some of the money that they're earning, even as a symbol of the suffering that the population is going through. So we here in Jamaica now, the leaders really don't set the example of austerity. We still see that sort of affluence. We see the highest vehicles being driven by these people. We see all sort of expenditure. And the people who are poor are told to learn how to be satisfied. Learn how to count our blessings. Well, the blessings are getting less here. Far, far less. What the people really want in Jamaica is an opportunity to develop their self-worth. that comes through economic engagement. Farming is the way forward. Combination between farming and industry is vital. The farmers are in resistance to the present regime. So as usual, the recommendation for economic development is the hemp. Metamorphosis. They say make us industrialize the hemp seed. Make us stop deal with the ganja weed. Make us industrialize the hemp seed. So they're still saying God save the Queen. In 2014, we are saying God save the Queen. So who will save us? And who is the Queen? So I say the liberation comes when we begin to shake off those legacies. You know, we are an independent nation with a queen living thousands of miles away. So we are really a queendom. And the Governor General now represents that queen. So self-reliance is still nowhere to be found, even at the level of politics. Because we have to go to Britain for legal cases to be solved. The morality, the high-level intellectual morality that must exercise justice, we think it's only possible when white people do it. Because we don't have any confidence in our own black self. We again believe that morality and virility and all the great values of life are white. So we don't want no black people make no decision for us. We want a white man to come here and decide for us. And then we say, yes, it is right. Because it was said by the white. A real revolution is needed. First, in our own conceptions. We have to revolutionize the idea of what black really represents. Because in the historical readings, from time immemorial, black always meant energy. Black always meant a source of power. Black always meant tranquility. And when the night comes, just look out into the black and see if you do not experience that tranquility.
What's Pele now? What a beautiful goal from Pele! El Rey!
The way that Maradona has been able to do. And he's hurting England again here. This is a brilliant run. It's one of the world's great goals.
Set.
They get away first time. Tyson Gay right alongside Usain Bolt, but here he goes, streaking away already. It's Bolt all the way. He's looking round at Gay. Watch the clock. It's goal for Bolt. And again, he's done it again. A new world record for Usain Bolt. They say lightning doesn't strike twice. The world belongs to Bolt. Berlin belongs to Bolt. 9.58.
When you take the lead, make sure you can maintain it. Oh gosh, this rough old veteran. Watch it, I am a sprinter, stay a long distance runner. So why nobody try test me? Sprinter, stay a long distance runner. So nobody try test me.
Metamorphosis Sports.
I can lead it, hold on, or come from the middle of the pack.
Athletics. Of course, we have confirmed it again that we are the sprint factory of the world, the sprint capital of the world. Our Carifta team just returned with a tremendous haul of medals. So we have cleaned up the Caribbean again. The Bahamas were threatening, but it was just a voice. And our runners are proving that the skill is here, the training is here, but obviously what is still lacking is the proper infrastructure. Because at this point in time, all schools should be properly organized, that they have their own track and their own football field. And maybe what ISA should begin to do with some of the monies that they get is give them back to the school as a part of a developmental fund for their own infrastructure. In other words, now the money that ISA is making from Boys and Girls Champs and Dacosta Cup should be put into some form of building fund. Maybe ISA itself should build its own stadium to improve the output of our young athletes. Now, besides the Carifta Games, which shows that we have a factory here, the tragedy is that we're not only the sprint capital, but we are also considered to be the murder capital. So that's part of the paradox of this island. We're producing the fastest men, but we're also being overpowered by gun crimes. The thing about that is that we make the runners here, but we don't make the guns. So we need some support now from those who know where the guns are being manufactured to stop the flow into our island. That will help us greatly. Now, the sports are dealing with it now. And we want to talk about a sport now that it is a national sport, as far as I'm concerned. It's the sport of domino. Yeah, domino. Domino I'm finding to be becoming the national pastime. It is played in every district, every corner, every nook and cranny, as we put it, of Jamaica. Domino is played. Now, what's so fantastic about domino, you know, is that it's a simple game, fairly simple in terms of you have 28 pieces and 4 people can sit down and play. But hear me now. You have a place on Titchfield Hill which them play domino regular, you know. I don't want them hear this now, you know, because more time I pass through Titchfield Hill, because I was resident on there for a number of years. And my brethren them now always playing domino. Right on the hill there. Couple nights ago now I passing through and I look, I see 3 of them sit around the table. Almost as if they're waiting for a 4th person. And I just get sucked into the groove and I just sit down. And I start playing. Now in Jamaica now, I was asking somebody, where did we get this idea of 6 love? Why we don't play to 7? Or why we don't play 5? And what is the beauty about dropping a 6 love? And what is the pain about getting a 6 love? And I tell you them now, the man them draw me in the game upon Titchfield Hill, you know. And I just sit down, you know. And I just start play. It's relaxed. And you know what I hear? After a little while, I hear a man say, 2 that. So I say, what do you mean? He say, 2 me gone. I say, well, all right. And we go and play a couple more games and I hear the woman who face me now say, well, I say, D, it's 3 me gone. So I say, hold on, what really are going? You see when I take a start now? The man who right over my hand, gone 3. The woman who faced me gone 2. And the man who under my hand gone 2. And all of a sudden, I had a feeling that I was in a position that wasn't comfortable. In Jamaica now we call it the boat. Because everybody get out of the 6 love. Except you. Now, we call that kind of game cutthroat. And what it really show me is that it's a way all Jamaican people have been socialized to live in, almost a cutthroat way. Where it's really every man for himself. But you see, when we realize who is out, the whole of the gang upon him. And I realized also I wasn't playing, it wasn't just me by myself now. The 3 people them unite to give me a 6 love. And when I realized what I go on, the palm of my hand them start sweat. And the idea of a 6 love now begin to dawn on me that is that a pleasant feeling. And for the first time now, the people them unite. This is what catch me about Jamaica now, you know. That the people can unite to crush one man. Yeah, them organize and them unite. Because that's the nature of cutthroat. And the society now, because it is our national game, when you look out into society, you see a lot of this cutthroat behavior. So eventually now, you know, I tell them, say, you know, you can't give me 6 love. You can't give me. So the man who beside me now, over my hand, say, reach 5. And the whole of them start laugh. You see already? The man them start call me all kind of name and tell me, oh, them going to send me back to the east where I come from. Oh, long time them don't see me. And welcome to Titchfield Hill again. And some argument reach me. You know what happened though? You know what happened? You know what happened?
Coming from the country with my bag of Cali, I woke up on a DC. Him want to hold me. Don't you run now, youth man. You won't get away. If you slip, you will die. And if you run, you can't hide. But I've got my dick stuck right in my hip now. Whoa, DC. Don't you take my eyes. Whoa, DC. Don't you touch my collie. Whoa, DC. The children dying for hunger, and Iman a suffer. So you've got to see, it's this collie that feed me. 50 cents a stick and $1 a quarter. That's what keep me alive. Me and my 2 kids and wife. So give me a chance and make me go on little faster. Just let me pass through, and Jah will bless you.
Yeah, this is Sugar Miner passing through
Don't you take my eyes.
the sports section of the Metamorphosis.
Don't you touch my collie.
So we just started looking into this game called Domino, because I am thinking that without Domino in Jamaica, the place would have blown up. Because it's a game that engages all age group, particularly the unemployed. Enough man in Jamaica who not working, spending time playing games. Because the dictum is that, you know, all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. So work and play are the dichotomies of society. So if a man not working, he better find some way to play. And if a man can't play and he can't work, he will get malevolent, he will get violent. So the violence now is translated and transferred into these games. Yeah, man, so when you kill a man, you know, you give a man a 6 love now, you know. That man can't even talk the next day, he can't even come back on the board the next day, you know, and become a laughing stock. You can ridicule him for about a week until him drop back one for another man. So we take the 6 love thing serious. I don't know why 6 is important, because the foreigners don't understand why we take 6 so important. I know that in lawn tennis, 6 love is a bad score. And so maybe we carry it over from the British concept. 6 on the dice is the highest number on the dice. So maybe there's something about 6. The thing about the cutthroat game though, it made me look into Jamaican culture a little bit deeper. And realize that we can quickly gang up on one man and sink him. Leave him to wonder how we can gang up and lift up our next man. Why is it we gang up to destroy? Why is it so easy to gang up and then it becomes something to joke about? But in the real life, we find it difficult to organize and to uplift. The same thing about Ludo, you know. Ludo is another game where enough killing go on. Man murder man set up man. It's a death game, but it's played out on a board. So a lot of the aggression and the frustration of this Jamaican society. Because we do our professional sports like the people in those industrialized countries, we let it out on the board games. So you see Domino and Ludo are important forms of therapy for our unemployed males. And you see anytime they ever take that away, they'll pop loose. More Domino.
And endorse the ghetto youth, they make them well bright. Africa shall rise. You know, see, say poor people all get twice when I'm around with me again. King Selassie, I endorse the ghetto youth, them make them well bright. Jerusalem shall rise. Looking at seats, the judge of people I get twice. Oh, the game up and down just like a yo-yo. Me smoke, me sense me, I'm full joy this show. Babylon speed up, so me have to move slow. Them say me lack of knowledge, but me lack them with the flow. Them teach me to say yes, and me still a say no. Them tell me to stop, and me still go. Them tell me to cut, and me still grow. Rastafari say so. Me a praise King Selassie.
So you imagine now, Sir D and them friend them now I try to get this big Rasta man 6 love. You imagine that? So the man in front of me reach 5 now. And me make him know say you can't give me that. The woman who faced me say, well, you can get it from me then. And I say, you can't give me that either. And Sir D, my brethren, who running off his mouth the most at all about, oh, I'm going to send me back to the east and back attack. Tell me, say, oh, you can't get away now. He said, make the story long and short. Cut the story. He said, when the man at my hand reach 5, the woman in front of me reach 4, and Sir D reach 3, I might realize it's time for the great escape. And suddenly the game became very important. And the issue of my self-esteem was online. I realized that I can't afford to take a 6 right or so, and then can't walk past the man them. So what do you think happened? Blak escape. Yeah man, Blak escape. I'm gonna say a pure chat me upon them. They're afraid of me now. This is Janine.
Watch the language that you use. Ensure a comprehension with the words them that you choose. Simplify a statement or attention you will lose unless you are intentionally trying to confuse. Cause I refuse to sit back and watch you hold people down. Put him in your top positions while the rest of them are drowned. Cause in the sentence of creation, all you are is just a noun. The verbs, action, words that put the power to the sound. And that's way beyond profound. When the wealth is for the few, they feel that there is no one they should have to answer to. So the things that they will say are not the things that they will do. Cause even after all the talk, the people still don't have a clue. But at least this much is true, information is the key. Yes, knowledge is the only way the people will be free. So it isn't just a choice, it's a responsibility to keep aware, so you can judge if what they say is what you see. Cause this one is a warning.
Yeah, take it serious. Warning. Yeah, we into that from the Mega. And what is the warning about now? It's a warning about how males and females must relate to each other. See the notion of I'm going to have a program that is going to be concentrated on the whole idea of bond. I find it something fascinating, this whole concept of giving bond. To the point where it's glamorized and turned into song and becoming seemingly a normal way of living. I don't know what is the genesis of this, because at the individual level as a man, I can't see the pleasure derived from this thing called bond. It sounds like something that is supposed to cause pain. So if I am in a relation and we're concentrating on inflicting pain on each other, why are we relating? Better you go on and me go on. So what is this bond thing? You know? And is it coming out of the scriptural readings of deception in relations? And when we look at that old Genesis story again, we get the notion that deception manifested itself in the creation story between males and females. And that deception manifested itself between the serpent and the clitoris. Because that seems to be the battle. Rather than to establish the balance between male and female, this creation story sets the male in battle with the female. It sets the serpent as an enmity between the female and the rest of her offspring. So right away we see a sexual battle taking place in the early set of readings in the Genesis. The serpent, who represents the pen, is, and Eve, who's representing the clitoris, because she's now being governed by clitoral energies. And it's these energies that are going to overpower Adam. Yes. So it's all about sexuality, it's about gender issues. And this thing about bun now, I can't overarse. Why is it necessary to be insisting that somebody getting bun and somebody giving bun? Why do you have to? What is the purpose? What is the objective? What is the benefit? Iman can't see it yet. And those who practice it must give Iman some insight. What is this thing about bun? You know, that songs are made about it. How does it elevate black people culture? You know, I remember a real hard time I cite it up. That people talk about it, that if the man give me bun, me I'll give him back. And if she give him bun, he'll give him, and yet two of them still relating. So why are they still relating if they are inflicting this thing called bun that will cause pain and grief? May I open it up for a discussion? Yeah, and the people who do it have to tell me why them do it. And the people who feel say it sounds as if it grounded in spite. It's like you're going to spite the person. So you're going to have sex with somebody else to spite them. So then when them here say you spite them spite you back. Who are the people now who are being used in these situations? I could stop and think about it. Because I don't see no glory in this thing called bun.
One civilization is not complete without its art, the highest form of expression of human intelligence. You have become complacent, sitting down and allowing the other nations to run away with everything. You have become a bunch of consumers. You are creators. Rise up, mighty people, and accomplish what you will. Without confidence, you're twice defeated in the race of life.
Let's look away the voices that gave the people pride. Now we're plunging into darkness. We all have to play our part, make a bold start. Every distract, tell every artist. Media houses, we notice, tell them support the slackness. How so much alcohol in our parties. While the girls are broke out of this upper where she drink, knock her out. Now she no care with them proper up. It's times like these, I'm missing our heroes. Times like these, I really wish they were around. Shouldn't have to be like a lot of them. Press up, back up, now the grave them a go back again. Them look the national bird wing. Sell we out clean, me not think we own a damn thing. Jam rock, why we giving in to the trick where them a trick we from the beginning. Parents who need to wake up from the slumbering is with children, blood them is running. It's times like these, I'm missing our heroes. Times like these, I really wish they were around. Put on your baggy, that's something they don't feel sell. As so we get fed was the society they go well. Go up them and who put a crab in a barrel. BM opposition do not done with the quarrel. Unite, come together, these people official. It's times like these, I'm missing our heroes. Times like these, I really
Yeah, Metamorphosis on Styles FM. Healing up all the people who have been listening intently. People who have been texting in, people who have been linking me on the Facebook. Heal up all the taxi drivers locally, people in the restaurants and the shops, the various corners that are locked into this metamorphosis. Listening is crucial. Yes, we have to learn to listen, to be able to discern, and then make decisions. Yes, and each person has a capacity to do those three things. To listen, to discern, and to make decisions that are driven by intelligence and information. So the women and the bun and the man thing, this is a thing in Jamaica that need to be purged. If you want to recreate a society that is meaningful, because these children now, children that are born out of these bunnings, certainly have no respect from those who are their parents, because it wasn't even planned. It's accident. And oftentimes I'm questioning in Jamaica now, a lot of these women who have children, is it all about a status symbol? Is it that in Jamaica the women are convinced, or is it something amongst black people that a woman becomes, a girl is a woman when she have a child? A lot of our young girls thinking that being a baby mother is a graduation. But it's not a graduation forward necessarily. It's one of responsibility and sometimes a burden unexpected. So we need a sort of different way of thinking in terms of the daughters. Yeah, and the whole idea of the man them now trying to have these whole heap of women that they cannot afford. I book a virgin with him, tell me I have 18 youth. 4 over there so and 7 there so and some more over there so. So I said, I have enough real estate. Him said, no, not yet, I work on it. But he might follow the Solomonic order. A lot of virgins follow the Solomonic talking, but they don't have Solomonic wealth. And you can't have all these women and children and don't have no capital, no wealth, no money to spread out. So the whole wildness that we're putting around sexual behavior, this whole big up self because who are gibbon and who not gibbon, and it's becoming normal, needs to be revisited. Yeah, Metamorphosis raising this as a concern. Because I don't understand the pleasure in either giving bun or getting bun. I don't understand the pleasure. It's like a jacket. I don't understand the pleasure of giving a man a jacket. But then them say Joseph get one. Them say Adam get one too. 2 of them get jacket. Yeah, Metamorphosis, live in Living Red, Green and Gold by Blak on Styles FM. Yeah, Rastafari always have a way of saying and doing. And in these final few moments of the Metamorphosis, I'm going to just speak to Rastafari and this time that we're in, which is beyond the Coral Gardens Memorial. But I want to say this too. I was on my way over from my parish, other parish, coming into Portland. When I got into somewhere near St. Thomas. Well, I was actually in Manchonil, on the bus stop. And when I look outside and when I look on the roadside, I saw these banners, posters, in colors, red, green, and gold. And I look even carefully, more carefully. What I saw was nearly shocking. It was a commercial that said, "Conquering Lion, overproof white rum, in red, green, and gold." Yeah, Conquering Lion, with the same lion of His Majesty, but his overproof white rum. And I'm saying to myself, you know, Rastafari is the genesis of creation and culture, but certainly not the beneficiaries in the financials. So what is happening now is that they're appropriating the symbols of Rastafari, and they're creating money out of it. Can you imagine Rastafari, overproof rum, conquering lion? It even shows me that the power of the culture is vast. It's just that we here in Jamaica don't understand the connection between the culture and money. And those who govern the society and are really trying to encourage us, because, for example, the flag that was burned in the commercial, the Jamaican flag, I'm wondering, would they have used a red, green, and gold flag? Or is it that they have more respect for red, green, and gold than even the black, green, and gold? It's a very, very serious thing I'm looking at now, because what is happening is that the red, green, and gold is a powerful symbol. It's a symbol of liberation. It's a symbol of Rastafari, but Rastafari don't really patent necessarily and own those colors. So those who are in the industrialized world and those who have the capitalist mind are using the symbols of Rastafari to make a bag of money out of it. Can you imagine Rastafari seeing that the conquering lion now is representing overproof rum? Serious thing going on. And so we have this American artist who was once a dog. He's now reincarnated now as a lion. Snoop Dogg is trying to be a Snoop Lion. But he's holding on to the Snoop. And we know what Snoop means. But what he recognized that there's a power in the Rastafarian culture. There's a power in the colors. And everybody is moving towards it, except the people who here on this island, who abuse Rastafarians as people, which allows the world now to use Rastafarian symbols because nobody here defends Rastafari. So if you are living in a place where you're not protected by the governance, then your symbols certainly are not protected and your symbols will be exploited. That's what's happening, and we see it clearly. So Rasta organize in the economics. If we begin to defend patency, if we begin to defend money as a reality. Imagine that, overproof white rum, conquering lion. Metamorphosis, Styles FM. One text person said that them things Mary give Joseph a jacket and blame it on the Holy Ghost. Oh my. So it's long time man feeling the deception and the uncertainty. But what we need to do is the women now need to get honest and stop planting these children and these other men them who look like them can mind them. Yeah, the problem that the women are not free from this plague of deception. And man cannot licky and put himself in too many different places at the same time. There's a whole behavior modification that is needed. Yeah, more behavior modification, more honesty and clarity in relations. Less hide and seek. Maturity. Responsibility. Finances. All those things go together to create a sustainable relation. So we give thanks again for being here at the Styles FM and at the Metamorphosis. Hail up the people at Splash 88 in New Jersey and to the 13 cities that pick up this program. To the people on the west coast of America who think that we forget them, and the Midwest, North Coast. People down in the north of America and people up into the south. Africa and Asia. The UK, the Caribbean. Right here on this rock that we call Jamaica. We're actually in the center of Atlantis. Ancient Atlantean people searching for their identities. We have an identity issue because we don't want to claim Africa. But hear me, even before Africa, there was the Antilles and the Atlantean people. More ancient. So we're looking into ourselves and we're going beyond what Columbus tells us. We're going beyond what King James tells us. We're going beyond Adam and Eve. And we're going deeper into ourselves. Ancient black self. Yes, fearlessly. With no heaven and hell. No damnation fire. All we have is the self. The center of consciousness. Center of reality. The I. Give thanks that I could link with the I. Metamorphosis. Iman Blak saying peace and prosperity to the I.